I'm going
Okay.
live. I'm going live.
All
All
right.
right.
All right, everybody. Walter Parks here. I'm on the road, um, closer to Knoxville, but in between Knoxville and Nashville, USA. I've concluded a really, for the most part, wonderful month-long tour in May of 2026. I started up in Stockbridge, Mass, and traveled all the way down to Florida. And I concluded, really wasn't part of the tour, but I played a memorial last night um, for a very inspiring friend, um, Nance Pettit. And she lived in Asheville, North Carolina. And she was the wife of very popular acoustic songwriter, performer David Wilcox. And David and Nance were super gracious to me and my former partner Stephanie in our group, the Nudes, when we first started hanging around the Asheville area. You know, it's mentorship is so crucial to artistic development. I mean, maybe art development in general, for whatever the trade. But I, I thought of, at the time, David was playing at venues like the Bottom Line, headlining him, doing 2 shows, and all of that sort of thing. And as I do now, I so much admire him and kind of look up to him, very much so. I mean, he's a absolutely excellent songwriter. He's so passionate about it. But I learned from David the the seriousness of the craft, and all along the seriousness is a is an enjoyment, and the uh, the importance of enjoyment of the craft just it's so evident in David. He laughs a lot. He seems to enjoy himself getting through life, and I know, um, as do all of us, we have our ups and downs. But I've I've been inspired by the way David seems to analyze his life, and his objectivity is admirable. And I don't think I'll ever be that kind of person, but I do I so admire his process, his artistic process, and his just process of getting through life. Um, the man is grieving in such an admirable way, if that can even be possible. He lost his wife of something 35 years or so, recently, 6 months ago, and it was a wonderful, wonderful celebration of life in Asheville, North Carolina. I got to reconnect with Billy Jonas, got to reconnect with David Lamott, um, Jim Infantino from Boston, so many others. My former partner, colleague, Stephanie Winters, played cello at the event. No, it was a, sad as it could be, but so important, so meaningful. But I'm unfortunately in this location, you're you're not. We checked the sound before we went online, and for some reason the guitar is just it's cutting in and out, and it's totally acoustic. So I guess you can't hear that. Anyway, I'm probably just going to be with you for about 10 or 15 minutes max, just because I wanted to play some things for you, and I don't think it's coming through. But I think it's interesting that they've even figured a way to filter out a musical instrument in priority to the human voice, as if the human voice is the only thing anybody would ever want to stream live or something. I don't know. I guess it's convenient if you're a journalist in the field or something. And but good morning to you. This is the last day of May 2026, and as far as I'm concerned, what happens tomorrow is the beginning of summer. I don't care what they say about the equinoxes and everything. June just always feels like the beginning of the summer to me, no matter where you are in June. Anyway, started working on a new song this morning, and gosh, the songs are just rushing in. And I just wanted to share with you a process that I've never really explored or admitted to myself that maybe is the right process for me. And you know, I've always prior I've always prioritized, not prioritized. The music part of a song has always interested me more than the lyrical part. And for some reason, at this point in my life, I think it's just because I'm thinking about my various attachments in my life and the things I've held on to and the things I maybe should let go. I'm in a very using words is important to me to get that message across. It's just not enough to play an instrumental song and say I'm expressing my feelings. I've always thought that to be a little bit of a cop out. You know, if you can't say it directly with words, then you're not going to communicate that clearly what exactly is going through your heart and through your mind. I don't think that can be argued. You can communicate sadness, you can communicate happiness through the general harmonic structure of a song. You could maybe even communicate resignation through harmony and so on. But exactly telling the story, you can't tell a story instrumentally, really. I mean, you can say that you can. And maybe that's what the great classical composers tried to do. And we analyze their music and say, well, this is the beginning of the character, and this is when he or she was struggling with their own identity, and now in, you know, suite 3 or whatever of their orchestral piece, they've developed into a human being. They start to make choices, blah blah blah. Can't even give a classical example, but I think my point is just that I'm enjoying lyric writing right now. It's absolutely essential to me. You guys can write me and rebut my positions if you want. Unfortunately, in this broadcast, I can't see your comments. But I started writing this song, and it's, you know, I was told by Margot, who's watching this in New Jersey, that the guitar was just not coming through. But so here's kind of the melody. That's like a pre-chorus. And then something. So here's my point. And since I can't really play, can't translate the guitar parts to you, um, all morning, a couple of lyric concepts came to me, and what I'm going through right now at this moment is just I'm asking myself, why do I try so hard? I'm trying to make something useful, make something repaired of an old relationship. The most that I hope for is just friendship, nothing. I'm happily married to Margot, and that's absolutely impenetrable, and that and as far as that's untouchable. So I just would love to be friends with a person that I'm just have fallen out of favor with, and I find them to be um, just holding on so strongly to a position that made sense for them so long ago. And I've gotten to the point where it's just I, I'm asking myself, well, why do I try so hard? Why do I try so hard? Is it just the challenge of it? Is it just that this person has been so, so, so tough over the years that I want to accept that challenge? And that may be it. Um, but when I want to dig, I'm finding myself going like, you gotta explore every aspect of this song or what's the song to be lyrically before I can proceed with the music. And I just find myself all morning just singing the music in my head and imagining imagining the relief of what the lyrics are going to bring. But what I haven't been doing is working on the lyrics because the lyrics are hard for me. They're the toughest part. I love it when the lyrics just kind of flow out, right? And those songs are the really, really those seem to endure for me. And I was told that, for instance, People Get Ready by Curtis Mayfield, that song just kind of came out in 5 minutes. And imagine the durability of that song for all of us. And there was something about the truth flowing out, just kind of unhampered. That's maybe there's a relationship to songs that endure when they just flow out of the songwriter. But on this particular song, I'm going into my own personal therapy, and I don't want to bore y'all with that. But my my point is that I'm um, I'm really exploring the issue. I'm writing. I need to write down pages and pages of this issue for me. And what I've already started doing just makes me feel better, sentence by sentence. And so that's where I am on today's ride back to St. Louis from Knoxville. I'll be working on this tune, and probably by St. Louis, I'll have enough lines put together to premiere this song for you next weekend. Um, but I love it when a new piece starts to come to me. I'm sorry I can't play for you today. This old Taylor, which is a 712W, um, it's wide. W means wide neck. It looks like a classical guitar, doesn't it? There's no inlays on the fretboard. It's very unusual. They made very few of these. I just bought this in the early '90s. I got it from my former partner and cellist Stephanie Winters. She sold it to me, and um, it was it's kind of tricky to play. It's just got a really wide kind of classical neck. I think that's why she didn't like it. But I've it's given me many songs, and I've taken this around the world, including right here at this truck stop in Knoxville. I hope you like the scenery at least. I'll talk to you about that and maybe sign off. But this is my van. I camp in the van. To be honest, I have my best night's sleep in the van. Um, Something about just being able to get a little bit of fresh air, just crack the windows, and I've got a little refrigerator in here that recharges when I drive. And if I happen to be able to plug in some power in a campsite or whatever, then it's full power for really about a day. I put a piece of scenery in the background there a couple of years ago. It's an old painting that I found at a flea market or something, one of those roadside flea markets in Floyd, Virginia, and it just fit just right. And it's right where people sit when they're traveling with me in the back of the van. Um, and whenever I used to take this van out to very scenic places like Colorado or something, and the musicians would always complain they couldn't see the bighorn sheep that I was pointing out on the mountainside, and they would just make life miserable for me. And I'm like, okay, so do you want your equipment stolen when we go to a restaurant or take a hotel at night? Because that's why we don't have windows in this van. It's a give and take, but so to keep the musicians happy, I just bought this perpetual nature scene that they can look at, and but it was a little bit of sarcasm there, but it looks better than just the green walls. And speaking of the green walls, this has been the probably the smartest thing I've ever done in terms of traveling and being on the road, is to just have my own green room. I play so many venues that are not really proper venues. It might be a bar or something, or if they're a bar, then maybe they're having a special night of listening. They've got chairs set up and everything, but they don't have a proper dressing room. It's just a urinal and some stalls, and I will not change in those environments. It's disgusting, but B, it just makes this kind of troubadour life seem like really something I shouldn't be doing. So we have this van. It's got a nice little closet here. Look at that closet. Isn't that cool? I built. And that's where I keep my outfits and everything, and my raincoat should I need it. And I sleep in the back. And every now and then I get some flowers. I got some flowers from the memorial yesterday, and it's a nice touch. But this has been an interesting life since I started traveling around playing original music. It's been a lifestyle that I've wanted ever since I was 15 years old. And you have to. I realized that I didn't really care as much about. I wanted to be the guy on the marquee at Radio City Music Hall or something like that. But I think I was more attracted to just the vagabond nature of it, the troubadour nature, the traveling nature of it. I like the ideal of kind of doing the same show, moving from town to town. I like the promise of trying to make your show better from location to location. That said, that was what I tried to do earlier, just try to do the same show. But I don't these days I never play the same show from town to town. And I do that because A, I don't want to get too bored. And B, yeah, I mean, I'm just not in the mood to play the same stuff. It's just there's not enough payoff in it. You drive 6 hours, 8 hours, you're exhausted, and it's got to be interesting for me. I mean, it just has to be. But now at this point in my career, my audience has come to expect that, hey, you go to a Walter Park show, he's gonna take you from the swamp in southeast Georgia to and that may have been music that was made in the 1850 and and then he's going to take you to 1650 to the Baroque period in Italy and singing a little opera, and then I might go and play my version of a Radiohead song or something. I even did a Billie Eilish song recently. I just absolutely love "No Time to Die," the James Bond tune. So, I like modern music, and I guess you call Billie Eilish modern music. Yeah, sure. Um, Love to meet her, and but there's so many great new singers right now. I'm super, super into Lana Del Rey. Always loved her stuff. I love, I love how she makes me feel. I mean, she takes me back to that James Bond era that I kind of grew up in, and so whoever's producing her, I should know that, but I don't hold facts like that. Um, I think they must have some sort of a affinity for the James Bond, the John Barry sort of musical approach. I don't want to ramble. I will say that, um, well, I am rambling, and I guess I do want to ramble. But I don't want to belabor this show is really what I should have said. Um, as we approach the summer, I'm going to try to keep these shows going. I think I can do that. I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to go back to the Okefenokee Swamp. I'm going to New York for July, I think July 1st or 2nd. I'm playing in Asbury Park with the Unlawful Assembly. That's going to be cool. That's New Jersey. Um, Love to get Bruce Springsteen out to hear us, especially since one of his singers is Ada Dyer is in my group. So if y'all are in the Asbury Park area, New Jersey, let people know. Just look on my website, walterparks.com. Also, we're going to be in Jersey City playing for, I can't remember what the event is titled, but it's presented by Riverview, co-presented by Riverview Jazz, who produced the Jersey City Jazz Festival this weekend. We're going to be playing at my old stomping grounds, the Jersey City Heights, on July 4th. That should be easy for y'all to remember. So that's just been added to the calendar. Super excited about that. That's going to feature Ada Dyer on vocals. I'll be playing guitar and singing. Stephen Williams will be on drums. I don't know who else we're going to have. Depends on the budget. Oh yeah, it's a full show. I remember that now. I think Michael Bellar, the original keyboardist who played on the record, is playing with us. Michael's my buddy from Hickory, North Carolina, and love, love, love his vibe and energy. He played on the record originally. We recorded it during the COVID, and Paul Frazier's going to play bass. So I think we got the full. The chamber is loaded, so to speak, and we're gonna fire off a bunch of hope for these troubled times. We're gonna we're gonna we're just gonna hopefully give people a reason to just keep going and hanging in there. And the irony of it all is we do that by pulling music from the past. And I don't think that, I think that makes perfect sense because if we think about everything that people had to do to 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 enable this country that most of us are able to enjoy, gosh, I think we can endure what's going on. If you're not comfortable about the current situation, the current administration, you're not comfortable about whatever's going on in the world, Israel, Palestine, you know, yeah, get out there and protest by all means, show the numbers because the numbers, but we're gonna survive this, and we're resilient people. Um, and I want to kind of close by saying that I took about 4 days off this week. When I say off, that means I'm not playing music, I'm not touring, but I'm certainly doing things. I never really just sit around and chill. That just drives me crazy. But I have a piece of old property that was in the family since the 20s. And it's my wife, Margot, and I figured out where it was. She was using her GPS, and we kind of identified the vector points on the old survey. And it's funny how they would identify these things, stump 14 degrees, northeast, or east northeast, you know, and there'd be like granite protrusion, 227 degrees south southwest, something like that. And you go out there in the woods, and these things are still there. I mean, I don't know. These surveys were made in some of them early 1900s. Well, 1920 is when the property came into my family. Of course, they were stolen from the Native Americans, probably the late mid 1800s, I guess, early 1800s. But but anyway, you're thinking about infrastructure and what people had to do to enable the comforts that we have right now. I'm kind of getting a taste of that, because I have this property that's in this hidden cove. It's just magnificent. Southerners call them hollers, and the the property, you can't see the payoff of the property until you get right on it, and then you come to this sort of high cliff, and then you kind of work your way through the trees, and then it opens up into this completely secret cove that there's a spring on that feeds a creek. Along the creek downstream is a road called Indian Waters Drive or something like that. So that gives me the impression that in the old days, the creek that sources on our property was something used by the Native Americans. Maybe at best it was because it was a water source, I'm sure it was a very special site. Um, Indian Waters Drive. I mean, that's kind of exciting to me. Um, I feel good being out there. It's just the weirdest thing about Asheville. It's always perplexed me. We were so bad and so unfair to the Native Americans, we being the white people, the Europeans, um, during Andrew Jackson's days. Andrew Jackson. As I broadcast, I'm in Tennessee, and so that's what brings to mind Andrew Jackson. Well, anyway, um, we were so bad to the Native Americans, but yet in Asheville, so many white people are gravitating there. So many white people are finding this sort of inspiration in the land and the nature there. They feel spiritually alight. They feel spiritually aloft. They feel inspired. Why, if there's truth to to the idea of spirits, and if karma exists, why do we, as descendants of white people, feel so calm, peaceful, rejuvenated in Asheville, North Carolina, when that was the beginning point of the Trail of Tears? Yeah, this is just me thinking about this stuff on a spiritual Sunday. This is what you get. And maybe, I mean, I'm taking a leap here, but maybe those folks are forgiving. You know, any Native American person I've ever met, and mostly out west, they don't have this they don't have this air. They don't have this feeling of having a chip on their shoulder, of being subjugated. And I can't say that for other cultures, you know. I'm just gonna stop it right there. But that's, it's they don't. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just kind of a forgiveness, and um maybe because the Native Americans they never had this concept of attachment to land. Like the concept of possession of land was a white man construct. And so maybe because they felt that they didn't own the land, that when they were compelled to move from the land, maybe that sort of maybe there was a resentment that just didn't linger in the air, so to speak. I don't know. But what I'm having to do, this land, A, it's landlocked. B, the only way to it is through an old logging road, and it's not a direct way. I have to tap into the logging road. In other words, if I were ever to build a place out there, I'd have to build a road to the logging road so I can get there. But you know, and then there's no utilities. There's no septic system. There's no electric out there. There's no water except for the well. So I mean, for the spring source, I mean, the stream for the spring, which is something. I mean, gosh, the water's got to be pretty fresh up there. Anyway, my point is, I'm going to get a taste if Margot and I choose to, of kind of this old school DIY sort of preparing nature for a place to live. And I'm asking myself, do I want to do this? When I was out there the other day at the property, just kind of checking it out, just trying to figure out where would I build a place. I found a box turtle, and I said hello to him, and 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 but I kind of felt a little bad. I mean, I thought that if I get what I want, this box turtle, shit, I hope he doesn't get run over by some bulldozer or something. And so then I have to, but I'm glad that box turtle said hello. It was kind of like him saying hello for all his buddies and all of his or her offspring. It's like, be kind to us, remember us. And I'll certainly try to do that. I don't want to be I don't want to be an ugly human presence. And I am asking myself, well, why don't I just stay put? Why don't I just live in a house that's already ravaged the land? Or the developers have ravaged the land in preparation for the house. You get what I'm saying? Why don't I just not do any more of that? And that's a valid thought. But anyway, as I say all the time, we do what we have to do. People do what they do. We are, I think, by nature productive, most of us. And those of us who are not productive, who have the means to be productive, um, they don't do so well in this world. And resources are I think they're out there for everybody to figure a way to use. And I think at this point in my life, I'm feeling so much gratitude for what I have in my life. And at the same time, I'm also feeling so much sympathy and empathy for people who don't aren't able to either take advantage of their resources for whatever reasons, or people who just don't have resources. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. But I would offer this to you in closing on this Sunday morning. There are groups of people, you know, I don't know if I want to go here, but I, I've heard it said that let me, I'm just gonna, I'm not sure how I want to crack open these sorts of issues. So I'll just say if there are groups of people, certain races, and there's so many problems in the world going on right now with one side will say, well, these people are basically just like animals. You should understand that they're just incorrigible. Um, they they don't know how to help themselves, and they deserve what they have. Well, that's the essence of a lot of our problems, I think, in this world. If you think about that statement, they don't know how to help themselves. I remember when I was in Nashville, in this state, for a while, where I was for 3 years, and I worked for the food bank for a while, and I was astounded at how many people came into the food bank face to face with me, who was the receptionist at the time. Fantastic job, by the way. I want to tell you more about that, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But I was a receptionist, and people would come in and they would desperately need help for their family, food. And they had no idea how to even talk to me as the frontline person. They didn't know how to look me in the eye. They didn't know how to form a coherent sentence, even though they spoke English and were raised in this country. And I'm just thinking, it's not that they're not willing. It's not that they can't do these things that help themselves. They just don't know how. They don't know where to begin. They don't know what good it would do them. It's mostly knowledge. And so when you say, or you catch your friends saying, or relatives at the dinner table or whatever, they just they got it coming. They can't help themselves. They screw everything up. Now I'm talking about stuff that happens in the United States of America, and I'm also talking about stuff that happens around the world. I'll just could be in the Middle East, for instance. If you make a statement like they mess everything up, whatever, can't be trusted, blah blah blah. I just have a feeling that it's an issue of maybe it does all boil down to love. Maybe it boils down to is when I decide that I want to do a certain thing to you or your culture, maybe we just can't go, this is the way it's going to be. And you just have to deal with it. And you just have to figure a way to survive on your own, even though this thing has happened to you. And I believe that's what's happening all over the world. I believe that's what's happening in our situation here in the United States. I believe that's what's happening in the Middle East, is that you can't just decide that a certain way thing is going to happen for somebody else and expect them to just deal with it on their own. I mean, you can. Maybe there's no difference between that and when a pack of dogs, uh, or a pack of coyotes or wolves kill an elk. I mean, what's the difference? That's what people always say to me. It's like humans are, we expect humans to be kind to one another. Humans take what they need. And, I just, you can say that, but I think that's just stopping a little too early. That's just way too convenient. What we, I think we can be sure that humans have a capability of analyzing their behavior. We have constructed this concept of good and bad and right and wrong and morality. And I don't think the elk that's getting eaten alive by 5 wolves, um, I don't think the those wolves or coyotes have that same sense of morality. I don't think the wolf is going like, "Holy crap, I'm dying." I mean, the elk is just like, "Oh, this hurts." Okay, and then all of a sudden, after a lot of the hurt, he just goes slides out. But humans have more blessing than that. We have the blessing to say, okay, if I'm going to take from somebody, or if I'm going to make somebody's life very, very difficult, that's that. I don't know. It's not a matter of that being right or wrong. I'm asking myself, I'm asking you guys, why don't we try to work things out? We have the capability of working things out. We don't have to kill each other. We don't have to make things so freaking miserable on our fellow man just because we can. It's that is not our nature. That is not our nature. Our nature is to try. Our nature, what we're blessed with, is an awareness of right and wrong. In addition to, we have the ability of saying, "Wow, this could happen to me." And I don't think the elk or the coyote or the wolf can do that. This could happen to me. But knowing that, we still make life difficult on our fellow man. We still enslave them. We still take their land. I say repair forward, don't repair backwards. Find ways to help people in the here and now. Find ways to help the young so that their families, as they pass through time, have an easier time. I'm Walter Parks. That's the end of my preaching today. Um, I hope you appreciate our time together. I hope I've actually broadcast to you. I don't know if I have. I'm sorry that I couldn't play the guitar. I can play the guitar, it just wasn't being heard. I'm going to sign off right now, and y'all take care. I'll see you next week. We'll be into the summer. Should be broadcasting from St. Louis. Take care. It's Hymns and Hollers. I'll be in the middle of June. I'll be in playing a festival in Effingham, Illinois, not too far from St. Louis. And then I'll be coming down to Florida for a brief visit, and then going up to New York City for 4th of July or that area. We'll see y'all. Walter Parks, Hymns and Hollers.